Hello, everyone. My name is Stephen Long, and I'm running for Congress in Texas's 8th Congressional District. I hope you viewed my introduction video, but if not, here's a quick rundown on me. I grew up in East Central Texas. I graduated from Sam Houston State University with a bachelor's degree in business administration. I've spent my complete career in the oilfield service industry. I have 4 kids and 2 grandchildren. I'm running for Congress because I want to play a part in shaping our children's future, and I'd like an opportunity to serve. I think I'm a good representative for the typical hardworking middle class citizen of District 8. I'm a Republican, I have conservative values, and I'm specifically wanting to be an advocate for balance in the budget. I'll also be posting videos on the national debt and health care and others. My approach to politics is to openly analyze and discuss problems and find a solution. One of our problems in the United States is we're spending too much money, and this gets added to the debt year after year, and at some point it's going to be unsustainable. So Social Security is the largest segment in the national budget, so let's get started in analyzing it. So here you have the overall budget. I think this is for 2023 or 24. Either way, it's about the same. You can see total budget is around $7 trillion when you include everything. And Social Security takes up about 22% of that, of the total budget. Well, here you have the formal definition of Social Security. It's basically a federal social insurance program that provides monthly and inflation protected income to people who are retired, disabled, or surviving family members of deceased workers. It's not a savings account, nor is it welfare. It's basically insurance that workers earn access to by paying payroll taxes while they work. And here's just a simple picture. You can see that payroll taxes goes to the government, and the government distributes that to retirees, people with disabilities, and survivors. Social Security was created in 1935 under the U.S. Social Security Act. It was signed into law by Franklin Delano Roosevelt. The purpose was to provide income security for those in their old age and reduce poverty. And it was designed to be social insurance, not really welfare. Workers earned benefits through contributions. In 1939, it was expanded to include survivor benefits for many widows and children of the deceased. It also included spousal benefits. We'll discuss more about this later. In 1965, Medicare was added as sort of a companion program. The two programs were financed separately, but obviously closely related. In 1970, they upped the amounts to recipients by indexing to inflation. In 1983, the program ran into some financial trouble, so they increased the retirement age from 65 to 67. And also, they started taxing higher income earners to sort of start a trust fund for the upcoming baby boomer retirement. In 2000, starting in 2000, the baby boomers began retiring in mass. And of course, life expectancy rises. And then the ratio of worker to retiree drops. And so that amounts to a situation in 2030s, there's going to be a reduced benefit unless Congress supplements the program and starts a trust fund for that era. We'll talk more about that in a minute. And Social Security is funded by a 6.2% tax paid by workers and the same amount paid by employers. In 2024, the maximum Social Security tax was on 168,600. Wages above this amount are not taxed. This means about only 82% or so of the total wages in the U.S. are being taxed, which some say is leaving too much on the table, and that's why you're reaching the point of insolvency coming up in 2030s. It's Social Security is a pay-as-you-go program. It's people pay in, and those funds are paid out to the retirees, people on disability, and people on spousal benefits. As also mentioned earlier, the trust funds act as sort of a savings account during surplus years, and then they act as buffers during the demographic shifts in the population receiving the benefits. You can start drawing Social Security at the age of 62 with the lower monthly benefit. If you can wait till 67, you get larger. If you can wait till 70, you even get larger amount of benefits. The law states that benefits can only be paid from available revenues. In other words, if the trust funds are depleted, then the payments are reduced to match the income taxes. The program doesn't collapse, but the benefit checks become lower. Now let's get into some numbers here. Here you have a situation where you have a low earner and a high earner. With these scenarios, you can see the low earner made an average of about 28,000 to 32,000 a year. The high earner made $95,000 to $105,000 a year. And here's the total amount paid into the system. If they both retire at the age of 67, okay, this is their monthly benefit that they would each receive. And it's worth noting, okay, so total benefits if they live to age 80, the low earner gets about 200 to 225,000. The high earner would get about 420 to 480. And this replaces about, in the low earner case, about 45 to 55% of their wage that they were making while they were working, and then 25 to 30% for the high earner. And this doesn't account for the upcoming imbalance in 2030s. There's the trust fund is supposedly going to be depleted, and if you're retired or going to retire after that point, the benefits are going to be about 20% lower than that. We'll talk about that more in a minute. So here we have a table. This slide is the effects of the upcoming trust fund depletion and the estimated impact if Congress does nothing. Okay. And we talked about earlier, there was a trust fund set up for the upcoming, or for the now happening baby boomer generation retiring. Years ago, they set up a trust fund to allow for that demographic shift. However, that trust fund will be depleted in the early 2030s, they estimate. And so this is a table that estimates the effect of your benefits that based on that happening. So you can see here the different age groups, years born, typical retirement years, and years paid at 100%. And then here's the years paid at the reduced benefit, anticipating the trust fund to be depleted. Social Security will not go away. It's just when the trust fund is depleted, the people who are withdrawing Social Security at that point will receive 77% of the benefits that they were supposed to receive. And so, for example, here you see age 60 to 64, and if you're that age in 2025, you're going to get about 1 to 5 years of the full 100%, and then the next 15 to 20 years of your retirement years of drawing Social Security, you're going to get the 77% of that. I fall into this group right here, so I'll get about 2 years of 0 to 2 years of the 100% and 20 to 25 of the 77%. So I'm already getting looks like a 23% haircut on my retirement funds from Social Security. And if you're even younger than that, you're going to the full retirement years are going to be at the reduced rate of 23%. And so I mentioned up here, if Congress does nothing, of course, Congress has the ability to create money, as they've done in the past. And so they can create more money and finance it and pass it on to the next generation for a mere $350 to $400 billion a year. That's how much it would take to offset this trust fund effect. And so, in other words, for everybody to have their full benefit that was promised, Congress would have to come up with $350 to $400 billion a year, be passed on to the next generation. And of course, we're already running a deficit, so who pays? You just pass it on to the grandchildren. In my opinion, I think not. I can deal with 77% let's get real. It's time to get real on this stuff. I don't want my kids to have to pay for my later years. I want them to prosper and flourish and carry on. This is just another example of a massive mismanagement government program. Let's talk about spousal and survival benefits. Okay, the spousal retirement benefit, for example, would be if a woman is married and has little or no work history, reaches retirement age, she can receive up to 50% of her husband's full retirement benefit. And this does not reduce the husband's benefit. She cannot receive both. She gets the higher of either her own earned benefit or her spousal benefit. Now, if a spouse passes away, okay, on the survivor benefits, the other spouse can, if the spouse that was deceased had the higher income, the surviving spouse can apply for the higher income deceased spouse's Social Security, and they can receive up to 100% of that, and is often far more valuable than the spousal benefit alone. And some of the historical logic on that that I found was that, back in years ago, the divorce rate was less. There were a lot of single or women stayed home or homemakers, and this was a way to protect the elderly population. When a spouse deceased. Here's a slide showing the distribution of based on the beneficiary type. You can see here retired workers receive about 75% of the total share of the payouts on Social Security. Here's your typical annual benefit, which is really what they just classify as the core of the system. Then you have your spousal benefits, which is about 4 to 5% of the total payouts for Social Security, but typical benefits. Then you have the survivor benefits, as we talked about. When one spouse passes away, the other spouse can collect on the other spouse's, maybe the higher income spouse's income. And there's your typical benefit. And disability, 11 to 12%. Other dependents, I guess, for children who have parents who deceased, and you're talking that's about 1 to 2%. Typical annual benefit for that. Here you have the total spend on the Social Security program broken down into different segments as to which the percentage each one takes up. You can see the retirement, people receiving retirement checks, Social Security checks, makes up 73% of the cost of Social Security. Survivor benefits, we just talked about that, 10%, disability, 10%, spousal benefits, and children of deceased parents and other disabilities or whatever, 6%. This makes up the $1.47 trillion for the Social Security program. I forgot to mention earlier on that when the trust fund is depleted in the early 2030s, all recipients of all different forms of Social Security are going to be affected, not just the retirees, which I kind of made it sound like that. But yeah, everybody's going to be affected. That is in case, unless Congress sets aside $350 to $400 billion a year to offset the trust fund depletion effect. Of course, that would just be more money that our kids or grandkids would have to pay back in interest expense. And we're already running $1.5 to $2 trillion in deficits per year. You can watch my video on the national debt if you want. It goes into more detail of that. But anyway, this is my approach to politics. I know it's maybe not very uplifting in some ways, but I mean, it's based just on truth, numbers, and logic. So I'm not sure how else to present it. Thank you very much.